I'm going to call the April 1st, 2026 school committee meeting to order. We're going to start with the pledge. To my left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up is our public comment period. All speakers are encouraged to present their remarks in a respectful manner and to consider the privacy interests of others. Speakers must begin with their remarks by stating their name, address, and affiliation. All remarks will be addressed to the chair of the meeting. Public comment shall concern only items that are within the scope of the school committee's authority. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes each to present their material, and the general extensions of time will not be permitted. Speakers may not assign their time to another speaker. Do we have anybody for public comment? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on. Vote to approve the minutes of March 18th, 2026 open session meeting. Did everyone get a chance to review and any changes? Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of March 18th, 2026 open session meeting. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dropping my flags.
Okay. All right, next up is the warrants. That's me. I've reviewed the following school expense and school payroll warrants. School expense warrant, March 18th, 2026, $330,855.29, and school payroll warrant, March 19th, 2026, $1,156,339.56. I reviewed and approved and wish to enter them into public record. No student reps tonight?
No, they both had athletic events this afternoon, so they were not able to join us.
Okay, all right, we'll move on. Student spotlight with Dr. O'Neill.
All right, I'm gonna go up to the podium for this one. Gotta turn it on before you press the button, apparently. There we go. All right, so I'm going to actually ask Morgan Legendry to come up and join me tonight. Morgan is here representing our superintendent's advisory panel. So come on up, Morgan. So one of the things that I absolutely love that I do here in Norton, and I can't take credit for it because Dr. Baeta did this before me, is I have a superintendent advisory council. We meet probably quarterly throughout the school year and talk about all sorts of fun things. Oftentimes I will bring something to the panel of students and ask them for feedback. Later tonight, we're going to talk about our portrait of a learner. That was one thing that the students really gave me a lot of feedback on. We talk about discipline and rules in middle school and high school. We talk about the cell phone policy. We talk about the bathrooms and the challenges that we have with student behavior in the bathroom. And then they oftentimes will bring me things that they want to talk about. So for example, Mrs. Winsper has been invited to our next meeting because the kids want to talk about AI and what that might look like as students. So this is my crew. They are made up of students between grades 6 and 12. Sixth grader is Macy Tuport, 7th grader Willa Britton, 8th graders Mason Martin and Noah Stark. Morgan is one of our freshman reps, along with Kevin Wilkie. And grade 10, Drew McPartlin and Patrick Reagan. In grade 11, Liam Sullivan and Matt Menyo. And then our seniors, Benson Chang and Taylor Collins. It's a really, really great group of kids. They are very honest with me. They give me all the tea. And they'll say, I don't know if you know this. And I'll say, well, there's not a lot happens that I don't know about, but tell me more. And they're just a great, great group of kids. So we're actually having our last meeting this year on the seniors' last day. And we've decided that Mrs. Winsper is going to come, but we're also going to celebrate with our seniors and have cupcakes. So Morgan's here. She can tell you a little bit about anything that I might have missed. And I know she'll be great. So go ahead.
I'm Morgan. I'm a freshman at Norton High. And basically, we just come to the superintendent office like once every 2 months, and we talk about whether it be student issues in the student body that have been brought to us by other students or issues that we recognize. And she said she brings us issues to discuss with her, and we pretty much we eat pizza, we eat lunch together, and we discuss all the issues that have been brought up and been brought to our attention, and yeah, work it out together.
And Mrs. Anderson bakes for us.
Yes, and Ms.
So-
Anderson bakes cookies for us.
Yes,
That's
and
very
sometimes
appreciated.
she'll bring cookies too,
Yeah.
depending on what the kids like. So, I would have loved for all of our whole group to be here tonight. But of course, spring, everyone's super busy. I really appreciate Morgan coming out along with mom and dad. Mrs. Clifford, do you have a camera we can take a pic? Or should you have her headphones on? Okay, we have no Benson tonight, so let's come up front, and Morgan and I will take a picture, and then mom and dad come up and we'll take a picture too.
We're gonna take a picture with them.
Yeah, you tell us what you want us to do. Thank you. All right, come on up, mom and dad.
You dressed for it.
I would look a little nice.
Oh, so great. You guys will look back on it right over here.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Do you choose a different group every year?
No, so once you're in the advisory council, you're in. And so each year, so typically what happens is that, there's one new, typically there's one student per grade level at the middle school and two per grade level at the high school. We already have two students that are in grade 8. And so it's nice because the students really develop this nice little camaraderie. Every year, two seniors graduate, and then we have at least one new 6th grader and usually one new freshman as well. But it means they're really comfortable with each other, and then they're comfortable with me too. And there are times where I'll say, hey, you know, I want you to get feedback from your peers. So this is your challenge between now and the next time we meet, or send me an email. And they're great. They will, and they're, as I said, very, very honest. It's like, sometimes there are certain things that I don't want to hear, but it's really nice because we're able to have a lot of conversations about things that are important to students in the building. And as I said, I can't take credit for the idea, but it's been really, really wonderful. And you know, when I go and I see them in schools, they'll introduce me to their friends and they'll say, hey, you know, I was thinking a bit more about this topic. What do you think? And so it's a really nice opportunity for myself, and I think for the students to have that leadership among their peers as well.
And those are, I know several names on there, and those are all wonderful kids, so.
They're absolutely
Yeah,
great
it's a great
kids,
group.
every single one of them, all have very different interests and, you know, wide variety of
Which is great
talents,
to have a
which
good,
is
yeah, snack.
great.
How do you pick them?
I don't pick them. I ask for teacher and principal recommendations. So typically what happens is Mr. Gagan works closely with Mr. Hayward to represent the new pick the new 6th grader, and then Mr. Hayward works closely with the high school to pick the new 9th grader.
Awesome.
I go through. Yes.
That'd be
it's
great. So if we could like, either have them come, or if we could get maybe like, not that we need the meeting minutes by any means, but if like we can get a little bit more of an update.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Actually, you know, after a meeting or so, or whatever.
Absolutely.
That's great. I think that's great.
And there really
Sure.
there really isn't a firm agenda typically. We'll always start the meeting with one thing that you're excited about or really proud of, and then one thing that's been like giving you problems. And it can be related to school, it can be social, it can be anything. And because it's a consistent group, they've become more comfortable with each other over time, and they'll say things like, I had this really hard math test and I was really like frustrated and stressed, and I stayed after school and I ended up getting an 85. And I'm like, that's amazing. Like, so we start with that all the time, and I usually bring one or two things, and they usually bring things. And
Great.
boy, can those kids eat. Like it's hysterical. Last couple weeks ago, Pam said to me, she goes, no one ate the pepperoni. I'm like, no, the cheese went really fast. I don't know. I just can't keep up with them on what they want. So they're great. And we're gonna have cupcakes in May for the last day for the seniors.
Sweet.
That'll be
Awesome.
Thank you.
It's great.
All right, next up is Dr. O'Neill with updated mission, vision, and core values.
Okay, so as you may recall, last year, we did our whole new strategic plan and we did a lot of work with a subgroup around our new mission and vision. And that was going back out, getting feedback from families, getting feedback from staff, taking that feedback and kind of tweaking it a lot. And so we have what I think is a pretty good draft at this point. Updated mission is to prepare future-ready students with skills, confidence, and character. In partnership with families in the community, Norton Public Schools will create a safe and supportive learning environment where every student is valued, is challenged to grow, and reaches their full potential. And then the core values all tie back to that mission and vision. So curiosity and growth. We believe that learning never stops. Students and staff ask questions, take risks, reflect, and grow every day. High expectations. We challenge ourselves and each other to do our best work. We listen, collaborate, and continuously improve. And then respect and care. Every student and staff member is seen, heard, valued, and supported. We build respectful and caring schools where everyone matters. And so we've always had this well, not always, we've had this excellence, tradition, and pride for a long time. And so I created two different ones that I'm well, I feel like these are kind of close. So it looks like it's all one, but it really should be confidence, growth, and success, or learn, grow, achieve, just to kind of replace that excellence, tradition, and pride. And I'm really open to any feedback that you have. I think one of the biggest things that I had about our previous vision and mission was that really no one knew what it was. I've worked in Norton for 23 years and I could never tell you what the mission and vision was. So whatever we decide to do moving forward, I think it's really important that it's something that is present in our schools. You can look at it. So if we decide we're going to go with learn, grow, achieve, that should be part of our branding with everything that we do. And I think skills, confidence, and character, I think that really hits with our core values too. So thank you to the working group that has done this. Thank you to people who actually filled out surveys and gave me feedback. Because this is important work. And so I'm excited to share it out with the community, in this draft form and see what people think.
I like that it's simple. It's not wordy. It's not, like in the past, we at this public school,
Yeah.
and it's okay. So I like the simplicity of it. It's very clear. It makes sense. It discusses the whole learner because it's not just about, academic achievement. It's also, about being empathetic and understanding and having that pride and confidence and that whole growth mindset thing. So I feel like it really encompasses all. If we're trying to narrow those down to this or that, I prefer the learn, grow, achieve. This again, I don't know. Again, that's simpler to me and really does encompass the whole idea of what school should be. That's me.
I agree. I like learn, grow, achieve.
I do too. Personally,
It's a little shorter, catchier.
and I feel like kids could actually get it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Does this go with this, or these are separate?
So that would be separate. That would be the next one.
Okay. They flow together.
Yeah.
They do.
So I really like that.
They do. And that's, if you like, I'll
We
just
can-
go right
is
into
that okay?
the work for the learner. But
They should.
Yes,
Yeah.
anyone else have a preference on I get it, Nancy, you're the only one that didn't give me an idea.
No, I also think learn, grow, achieve makes way more sense. I think it also encompasses pre-K through 12 better.
Yeah, I agree.
From a standpoint of you can apply it to grade 1 or grade 12, where the other one I just think is a little, I don't want to say awkward, but it just doesn't flow as well.
Well, and I think
Other than that, I think it looks great.
confidence, growth, success, those are all part of the words that we've already used, but I
Yeah.
think personally, I think it's more accessible.
And I like it better than our current.
Right?
Yeah.
I do too.
This I feel like is just more applicable.
Agree.
So
Great.
I'm not an English major by any means, but is that Kate, kill me. Is this correct? Every student is valued, is challenged to grow?
I had the same thing.
Okay, good.
I had the same
Where
thing.
are we?
Every student is, in the vision, every student is valued, comma, challenged to grow, comma.
Yes.
And then this,
Okay.
and reaches their full potential felt awkward to me too. I'm
Okay.
not sure why.
All
Thank
right,
you.
well, I
Okay.
can wordsmith that a little bit.
And I thought it was me. Okay.
All right,
All right, see, my wife would be so proud of me.
Students valued,
all these years.
Finally did it, 30.
you know, and something along maybe, you know, and encouraged to reach their full potential or something like, I don't know, yeah.
Yeah,
Last
yeah,
part.
I agree.
Yeah, all right, well, I'll wordsmith that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The is was screwing me up. and
Me
it's
too,
like, I'm
okay.
reading this the wrong way at the end.
Me too, and I'm like,
But yeah, I mean,
Well, and the more you look at things, the more you're like,
yes.
maybe
fine.
it's okay. And that's exactly what happened. After 4 reads, I'm like, that's,
it's like when you spell a word, you're like, that's right. So I'll move into the portrait of a learner. So this was a huge component of the work that I did with my student advisory council. We took all of the feedback that we had from the surveys that we did in January with parents and staff, and then we tweaked it and came up with 5 core areas, which were students are accountable and self-directed, they're resilient learners, they're confident communicators and collaborators, they're critical thinkers and problem solvers, and they're respectful and engaged citizens. So though that was the area where we had those 5. And so I brought it back to my advisory council a few weeks ago, and they were like, yes, we really like this. And then we talked about like each one probably had like 4 or 5 task areas under each one. And so shared it back out with staff right after I met with students. And the big thing that I got from staff was we need something that isn't just another gigantic poster with 1 million words hanging on the wall. They said we need some sort of acronym. And so I'm like, okay, let's try this. So we have Lancer. So Lancer's lead, which connects to the accountable and self-directed, which said Norton Lancers take charge of their journey and their own choices, which, oh, sorry, I should, there we go. They take charge of their journey and their own choices, which means they set and monitor personal learning goals, they manage time and resources effectively, and they initiate tasks and persist through challenges.
yeah, there's some typos in.
Yep. Challenges and seeking help when needed. Sorry about that. Norton Lancers adapt. They respond positively to challenges and continue to grow. They apply feedback to improve future work. They stay regulated and positive when faced with obstacles, and they try new strategies when the first one doesn't work. Lancers network. They connect with others to share ideas and solve problems together. They listen actively to diverse perspectives. They communicate ideas through multiple media, and they contribute equitably to group goals and team success. Another one of the components besides the acronym was making sure that our word choice was really inclusive of kids with varied abilities. So we want to make sure that we're just not talking about speaking and writing, that we're making sure that we're addressing all the ways that students communicate. So that was an awesome piece of feedback. So thank you to whatever educator included that, because as I said previously, sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees when you're looking at something for so long and spending so much time with them. Lancers construct. They build deep understanding by questioning, analyzing, and creating. They identify problems and design creative, viable solutions. They analyze information critically, including digital and AI-generated content, and they connect prior college to new and complex concepts. Lancers empower. They lift their community through empathy and inclusive action, which means they advocate for the needs of themselves and others. They demonstrate empathy and respect for different backgrounds and abilities, and they actively contribute to a safe and welcoming school environment. That was all we had. I can't just write Lance. So what will R come up with? And reflect. So we learn, Lancers learn from their experiences to succeed in the future. So if they self-assess their own progress towards their goals, They identify personal strengths and areas for growth, and then they connect classroom learning to real world opportunities. So to me, I was like, having an acronym helps this make it feel like it's much more doable. And what we have here too is for each one of the LANCER, we have, I'm going to go back to, we have I can statements for all grade levels. So instead of having 6 or 7 things, which we did have initially when I shared it with this with staff 2 weeks ago, we have 1. So for pre-K to 2, for leading, I can take care of my materials and follow our classroom routines. Where in grades 3 to 5, I can set a goal for my learning and stay focused on my work. 6 to 8, I can manage my time and advocate for the tools I need to succeed. In high school, I can take full ownership of my academic journey and hold myself accountable for my choices. And we have that for each of the 6 areas. So staff has not yet seen the Lancer. This is a draft. Really, really based on the feedback that I got from them, and super grateful to all of them for really helping to solidify how to put this all together. And when I was chatting with my advisory group, we were talking about what could this look like. And it was their idea to have a student art contest where we would put it out to students and they would design what these new posters would look like for the Portrait of a Learner and now for the Lancer. Whether we decide to call it a Portrait of a Learner, we decide to call it the Lancer Way, whatever we decide to do, I think having a student, handprint on it, I think will be really great. And depending on what we get for submissions, maybe we'll have an elementary graphic and a secondary graphic, or different graphics for students depending on what kind of comes up with it, what we come up with. And then I also asked the kids about what we should give for a prize. And they said lunch with the superintendent. And I said, just because you guys want to hang out with me, doesn't mean anyone else does. And I asked my 13-year-old, and I said, do you think that's a good prize? He goes, yeah. I got one of those at home. So I was like, all right, well, apparently Brayden O'Neill does not want to have lunch with the superintendent.
Doesn't want to have lunch with mom.
Exactly. So I would love your feedback on this. I'm not going to read all of the ICANN statements just for, but I will be sharing this in my newsletter on Friday, and I will be sharing it again to get some additional feedback. And hopefully people see that we really did listen to their comments from the last round.
I just want to start with, first off, I noticed and appreciated exactly what you pointed out about the accessibility of this. I noticed it right away, which was great. I also, I love a good acronym. No, I
There's so many.
yeah, right? I mean, come on. But I really, I feel like it encompasses, again, a lot of things, including standards. I mean, again, this communicates ideas clearly through multiple media. That's a standard throughout. They're supposed to be doing those things, whether or not they have additional abilities or not. I love the breakdown of the what this looks like at each grade level, which again says to me that this is accessible to, our 3-year-olds all the way up to our 18-year-olds and plus, which is great. And then the other big thing that I liked about it is just the flexibility of it, because again, not all of our learners are the same. They don't learn the same. They don't learn the same things. And so it just feels like this is just a very accessible roadmap for every child that goes through our Wilson system. So that's my feedback.
I think, though they were 2 kind of separate agenda items, like these definitely kind of coincide with the mission vision. And I love the idea of the Lancer with the leader of that, whatever. I do think like maybe changing a few of the acronym letters to fit mission, vision, core values. And what I mean by that, it's like C, construct. What the hell does that mean?
Right.
So like, see
Versus
that,
create.
or confidence, because we're talking about confidence in our mission or character
Mhm.
in our mission. Have that also hit on the C of the Lancer. Now you have a cross, way to do it, that like, hey, confidence now makes sense. It's in our mission. Now it's also a part of what we're trying to do, I wrote down confidence, character, curiosity, maybe for C.
Mhm.
No, we took confidence out.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's up here.
Oh, I see. what
It's
you're
in our mission.
saying. Yeah.
You know,
I see what
Say
you're
took confidence away, did you?
Yeah.
Well, and I think curiosity could potentially go more with the critical
Right, so
thinking
like
and problem
yeah.
solving.
Yeah.
I haven't.
saying. Instead of scrapping the entire, yeah, that makes sense.
Correct. And then like lead, I think is great. I think that's the first letter is like, we get lucked out with Lancer, I guess. And like A, I do like
I
adapt.
spent a lot of time at the store.
Yeah. And like reflect, I also kind of do like that one. Kind of like it's ending as well, like the Lancer ends and it's like, hey, reflecting on what we
Yeah,
just kind of
it's
learned.
bringing everything together.
Correct, correct. So, again, this is just me writing down quick notes here, like E, empower, I don't mind. I think it's kind of sometimes a weird word for like a 3-year-old or a
Mhm.
5-year-old. But could that like, and again, I'm not saying it has to be this by
Yeah.
any means, but like, is that like expectations? Like
Mhm.
what are you, what can we do there? Or even like, I kind of like engage too.
Yeah.
So again, that's my only thing, but I
No, I
think that's for a
appreciate
first draft. I think this really hits on a lot of things. And again, I like the Lancer way, a roadmap for every learner, I think that's a really nice like punch.
Mhm.
And I do think I remember obviously sitting on that committee, like one of the things was like the portrait of a graduate feels like directed directly to the high school. And even though in the high school, it's almost directed to like 11th, 12th grade. The 9th grade is not really thinking about graduating necessarily. So I think that, the Lancer way, the, water, whatever we want to kind of call it. But I think if these two can kind of go together,
Mhm.
I think we can really, for the posters and all that stuff, it will kind of start clicking in heads. So I love it.
I think, I'm obviously a little bit late to the game, but reading up on it, I like calling it the Lancer way, but I like adapting it to each school. So when we're doing like the art contest, like those posters go in that school.
Yeah.
Because we're breaking it down by grade on their cutouts, then we should break it down a little further by school. And even though, our elementaries are relatively the same grade, I think still having that individuality, it kind of brings that Lancer way as a whole to each school and each building because, as much as they're doing the same things, they are very different schools. And I think that, bringing together that individuality by school and adapting because there may be different things that come up in the Lancer way with different schools. But having the roadmap, I think, is a good place to start.
And there is, with that point being made, there is that interesting cut between, we get pre-K to 2 and then 3 to 5,
Mhm.
even though our schools aren't set up that way. I mean, but academically speaking, yes, that is the logical way of doing it, so.
And I
Yeah.
think too, when we're thinking about third graders as learners, right, the expectations
Mhm.
are much more for them. And I
Absolutely.
think maybe that's a good transition for the third graders and saying, okay, we're asking you to do a little bit more now before we transition to fourth and fifth, Yale school.
Right.
I have to agree with everyone up here. I love the Lancer way. I love how this flows together. I love the examples of, how you can really implement them. I really love opening it up for an art, like, contest or whatever, to see, how that is portrayed. And I feel like we kind of have to see what gets submitted before we decide. Like there could be, we have some very, very talented and creative students. And they might be able to really encompass the whole district in something. So I'm excited to see what they are able to do. But I like it.
And I think with like, especially with like the learn, grow, achieve, if that's what we're gonna stick with, obviously, I think like that, we need to incorporate that also into
Yeah.
like our clubs.
Yeah.
And our sports
Mhm.
and our teams. Like when we send out the banquets and the, graduation and all the, stuff that we get, like that needs to be kind of like driven home of like what we're trying to do and that,
It almost becomes your letterhead.
it's like,
Yeah.
it's like your motto, that's
Exactly.
what we do. And like, it has to go, let's just face the facts here, like when you see it all the time, and it's not just a poster on
Have
the wall.
ownership to it.
Yeah.
Then you, exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
So,
I agree like that. Now, the contest, are we looking at it in the way of, like, kind of what Dan suggested, is that they would be different posters for different grade levels, like?
I think it will depend
that-
really on what we get with submissions,
That
right?
would be,
So,
that would be cool.
Benson has offered to, because he's my communications intern, put together some information in a flyer and really help with that component. And so whether students decide to do it on their own or it's done as part of art in some places, it's really up to, I think, the educators and families, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's exciting.
Awesome.
How does Stan take over now? All right, next up, Dr. O'Neill with school choice.
Okay. So we can vote on school choice tonight, or we can wait until the next meeting. It's really up to all of you. Let me get to my slides. There we go. Okay. So, oh gosh.
so
Well, it might be
The Lincoln days.
it's so much bigger when we meet at the
Oh, yeah.
other place. All right, so this is school choice enrollment by year. I apologize for the very small, that you guys all have a packet. So we have been part of the school choice program since 2014. And these are the last fiscal years in terms of where we are. So we reached our high point in FY24 at 246 students. Last year, we had 231 students. And during our current school year, we have 204. That is really because we've kind of limited the number. We used to have an open school choice where basically anyone was able to apply, or we would maybe say, okay, it's open, except for in, fourth grade, we have 5 spots, in fifth grade, we have 10 spots, et cetera. We've definitely pulled way back on that for, a variety of reasons. One of them being our budget constraint that we had in FY25. We really closed that down during that time. And so we're currently at 204. Elementary school choice enrollment, I think, is something for us to really look at as well, because we have the 2 schools. So typically it is decided based on either number 1, where your sibling goes, or number 2, where you reside. And so we have a very small number of school choice students at the elementary schools. And these are typically just siblings or faculty students. So as you can see, the largest classroom dynamic or class average is 2 students per classroom at LGN. So that's a total of 8 there. We have 9 third graders at GCS, but single digits across the elementary schools. And then the school choice funds are also important for us to have a conversation about. So the highest year was the 23-24 school year, which makes sense because that was our highest year of enrollment, which we received $1.6 million in school choice funds. And I also think it's really important for us to show what we've expended in those years as well. For those of people who watched the finance committee the other night, I talked about the fact that, we don't ever want to spend as much as we're taking in any given year, because eventually that is going to run out. And we are very reliant on school choice funds, not for staffing, but for everything else that we do in terms of curriculum materials, technology, professional development for staff. All of those things are paid for with our school choice funds. And over the years, Christine and I have made a conscious effort to take the staff that was funded by school choice and move them over to the general budget little by little. So as of our proposed budget for FY27, there is 1 staff position that is left in school choice. And our hope is that we will be able to move that position out and no longer have any staff in this. As we all know,
school choice is like free cash. It's not guaranteed. It is one-time funds. So putting staff in there year after year is a very dangerous game for us to play. So far this year, we have received $1.5 million in school choice, and we've expended about 1.2 so far. And it's important to note that both of those numbers have asterisks next to them because we do not get those final adjustments until June. And as the committee may recall, we receive $5,000 per student, but then we also get the special education component as well, which we put all of our data together, show what services students are receiving, and they give us, they have the formula, which they will send us money at the end of the year.
Can we just,
Yes,
okay.
please.
So obviously one-time funds and, kind of free cash wise,
Mm-hmm.
what, once they're in here and like our funds are expended, we can spend it on anything we want since it's our revenue? Or is there
Yes.
like, there's no like state requirements behind it, like,
It's gonna be for education.
We can- yeah, but we can do it for anything.
Like you and the field with it, but it has to be.
But hypothetically,
Yeah.
could we go and say, hey, we want to
I
put
don't-
$50,000 in the field?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Yeah, I think Dinesh,
For educational purposes?
yeah,
for education.
so that's why we didn't, we used to have networking in there years ago. But we put it back in the budget for that reason. I think
Okay.
it was kind of a dispute.
Was it,
It was before I got
was
here.
it like a dispute between us and the state, or was it a
No.
dispute amongst the school committee?
I think amongst everybody, yeah. But I think then I was looking into it and it's just, I think we just want to go more education.
Yeah, I'm not
for the students.
advocating.
Oh, no, 100%. Then like,
That's
utilities, like the custodial line and stuff like that. You
And
know,
then-
want it.
No, and then number two, what is, I mean, obviously we went back to 2014 with school choice.
Yeah.
What is in our revolving account right now?
I will defer to Mrs. Hatfield.
And if you got to take your time and Jen, you want to get
Yeah.
this completed.
It's a little over $1 million. It's right about $1 million. I can tell you the exact. I think it's close to 1.1,
And what do we,
but
now,
Starblink's not working.
not to step on Nick, but
Let's switch
just
this.
Switches.
if we're at 1.2, is there any way to anticipate what we might be spending it on the rest of the year? Like, do we have an idea, or is it like, it's really like something, I can't even think of something offhand that we may need it, but like,
I mean, typically, if you look at the trends, we've never gone over
yeah,
the funds received. So I mean, it's safe to say that's probably no more than 250 of that at times, right?
So there are certain things that we budget for.
Yeah.
So for example, there are encumbrances in all of our lines when it comes to supplies and materials.
Yep.
And so that each of the building principals has a number that is there based on their student enrollment at the building. So, and they draw down from that encumbrance throughout the course of the year. And then anything that is left over at the end of the year will go back into the school choice revolving. We'll unencumber it, we'll add it back to our total. I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Christine, that we have a line for staff professional development for course reimbursement. That is being funded by school choice. So what happens is that all staff get their materials in for it's right now it's encumbered, right? Then all staff will submit their reimbursement. Pam processes all of them, pays all of that out, and so the process,
That's your moving target.
that's our moving.
so, like, I know we sat here last year towards the end and we were discussing new curriculum.
Mhm.
So like, if we're sitting here again, so Brian comes to us in May and says, hey, we gotta make another payment.
Yep.
That's where something like this could come into play. So we have to have a little reserve because obviously curriculum is an educational expense. So that's where we would have, like, yeah, we're gonna get a good deal like you did, but we may have to make a payment
Correct.
like year 2 or 5 or something. So that's,
And so those are things, ideally, those are things we would want to use school choice on. We would want to use school choice for curriculum purchases, which only happen once every 5 years. We would want to use them last night we were at Capitol meeting, we have annual lease payments for these boards. Like, it would be nice to not have to go to Capitol and ask for $35,000 for a lease payment and pay that out of school choice instead. But unfortunately, because we've become so reliant on school choice for things like the contractual, funds to reimburse teachers for courses, it's more difficult to do that. So and I don't want to speak for anybody previously, but Dan, you were here when we kind of went down this road. And one of the biggest things we discussed when we started school choice was that school choice should be for those extra things. And over time, it really has become way to balance our budget.
Yep. Well, I mean, I think, and not to go down the historical perspective, but I mean, this made us a one-to-one district, which was absolutely necessary
During COVID.
COVID times. And I think we've done a good job in the last couple of years of getting away from, the technology aspect of it and taking out networking, and now it unfortunately has become something to balance our budget. Like, we all know what the budget looks like. We've all done this long enough. So I think we've done a better job, but I mean, for a while we were like, oh, we have all this, but we didn't really have a plan for it for a few years. And now we would like to have a plan to use it on X, Y, or Z, but now we're using it to, when we first started this, we said, let's absolutely tie salaries to it. And that way, that's a motivation for that particular, job to stay in. We never really flipped it to the budget, and then we realized that wasn't a good practice. So that, it's evolved heavily. And I think, it's, we were obviously in a tight situation. We were forced to limit it. I mean, we're not going to do this we're never going to do this at the expense of our own Norton children. But that was the necessary, condition last year. So, like I said, I was just more curious with if we think we're going to come close to this number.
The last few years, there's always ebbs and flows in the actual budget itself. For example, you may have someone who goes out on a medical leave and you're only paying them for X amount of days, and then you're backfilling with a sub. And so therefore, that could be a cost savings. You could have someone who has enough sick time to get them through our last day in June. So you're paying them and you're paying a sub, which is going to cost us more. So there's always ebbs and flows. And so what happens at the end of the year is we look at where do we have some of those savings and where could we take expenditures out, move that back to school choice, and use the savings that we have in the budget to pay for whatever that item is. So we are, and I have to give Christine and her team giant kudos because they are constantly looking at these numbers and making sure that we're keeping track of the best way to do this. I just know, we're going to talk tonight, like first pass at like what our potential budget reductions for FY27 could be. If we didn't have, the 1 point whatever to backfill it, that would be even bigger. So I think we need to look at it as a fine line of balance. And then we also, from our perspective, need to look and say, okay, is there something that we could potentially move from school choice into the budget? And in a year where you're going to get a 2% increase or a 3% increase from the town, it's easier to do those things than in a year when you're saying, oh, we're going to be level funded. So it's knowing when you have the flexibility to move things and when you don't.
And I think that's the biggest difference where we've gotten to with this school choice funding.
Mhm.
I mean, we never tried to use it as part of our budget. Now it's the unfortunate part of our budget is, if we're looking at a reduction of $1.8 million, and we could say, all right, it's not a staff position, but we could keep, some sort of additional thing at 200,000, then we have the ability to do that. But we have to know that come next budget season,
Yeah.
it may only be in the budget for a year because that's all we have.
Yeah, I think, ultimately, I think it's a kudos to Jen and Christine both to like understand of trying to pull things out of this, because the more we can kind of pull out of this, the more it can go into the regular budget because like we've said before, like we gotta put a budget up that's gonna meet the student needs. And like, we are meeting the student needs, but we are also $1 million short, because we are taking some of our revenue and spending it, you know? So, and again, I mean, overall here, it looks like we're pretty much, you know, whatever we received over the last few years. Obviously, there's some exceptions here and there, but like you're pretty much whatever you're bringing in, you're expending out. But you're sitting on $1 million in revenue, and as we're pulling that thing back, I do think million's probably a nice slushy rainy day fund in a way. And at the end of the day, $1 million really isn't that much money in the grand scheme of, well, what we're doing,
Which sounds crazy.
which does sound absolutely crazy.
It really does.
No,
It's like
but it-
0.02%.
Yeah, it's, I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it really is not that much money.
No.
And if you do it on one-time funds, you're gonna blow through it in a year, maybe two, you know? So,
One payroll.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, so it's, I think if we do look to, you know, if we could take a little off and say, hey, this capital request is not gonna get funded this year, I'm not even picking on this year's capital, I'm just,
Yeah.
it's general. Hey, this is not gonna get funded, but we really need it, and it's a one-time thing. I do think that this is an easy way to kind of tap into, say, hey, you know what? We're gonna take that off, we're gonna help you out here, there, whatever, but, yeah.
Well,
So-
and I think to that point with capital, if we could take something off and that could go to something else.
Exactly.
If
Right.
it's capital,
Right.
it's
And I
like, if
think
we could
that's the
take
goal.
35,000 from capital, but maybe that's used for the, you know, call it a $50,000 gym floor or something like
Right.
that, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah. It's very different, but it is also kind of similar to like the ambulance receipts. Like they're making revenue off of what we
Exactly.
do. Same idea that we have, which is bringing students from the outside
Mhm.
of Norton, you know.
Just at a higher
So,
rate.
yes.
I know you still have another page, but before we move on, just for me, in theory, right? Based on where we're started to what we're sitting on to where we may end. We would start FY 27 roughly in the 2 million-ish, right? 2 million, 2.2, something like that,
Probably
depending,
less than,
a little less than that, okay.
so we're at 1.1 now, we have another, which at that time that we did this was a little bit ago. And then we have another like 300,000 encumbered. So we'll use most of that.
Just thinking about like, cause if we started at 1.5. That was, so, okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, 'cause you're getting
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
0.5.
That's why that's what I was.
What
trying-
happened
yeah.
last year too?
That's a-
I wanna make sure,
Goes up.
I know it's in our kidding. So,
So we get monthly payments like 12 installments, and
Okay.
then usually we get the shake up of a little extra money after we get sped increment. And then,
right,
but last year, because they saw this decrease coming, that kind of happened quicker. The last month, we got like all of a sudden 70,000 last. So that, the month of June. So like,
okay.
you know, that kind of changed those, but we didn't know that that's last budget book, you know, all
Yeah,
that was done.
right,
And you don't know that. They don't tell you ahead of time, you know.
Oh, that's
So
like,
they tell you the first.
That's when you close your books.
Oh, really?
Right. So the first 6 months to 7 months, it's pretty consistent. You know that ahead of time, but then it starts to shake up a little bit in the spring.
So you said it's 12 installments, so it comes in during the summer as well.
Yep.
and then, and again. How long would you say? Before we get out of. If ever, the necessity of. School choice funds, like,
Oh,
like
good
we're
lord.
using them for things that. They shouldn't be, is that a
I mean,
forever thing?
Honestly,
Yeah.
I think it really depends, like, if we could say, we know we're going to get 3% a year from the town for the next 5 years,
Mhm.
I think we could probably put together a plan where we're like, okay, we're gonna do a little bit of
Phase
this
out.
this year, we're gonna do a little bit of this year. And I don't know that you could do it in the 5 years, I think it's
Yeah.
honestly probably more of 10 year
Yeah.
situation. And I mean, like,
But
we would need some sort of guaranteed
Right,
return.
that's what I was
and it's
wondering,
just not-
right,
I
right.
mean, we
Yeah.
probably did a little bit more. The past 2 years have been like all the subs.
Yeah.
We separated Brian's lines between school and his supplies are now in the budget currently, might not happen very shortly, but so I mean, it's only like 10, 15, 20,000 here and there, but we're just
Right,
well, yeah.
That's what I was just, again,
Yeah, so I think it
realizing.
depends how much we get, one, as Jen mentioned, but also how the decrease of funds in that we get over time that we see,
Right.
which I think after this year, I think we'll be able to tell a little bit better
Mhm.
because it was a little unknown for a bit there. So
And I ask because again, we've started to reduce at the elementary level what we're bringing in. So when Jen uses a number like 10 years, well, now those second graders are graduating. And so if we're continuing to decrease, but yet we are not getting the revenue elsewhere or actually getting less in certain situations, like where are we going? Is I guess, just
Well, and I think that's the debate we had every year.
Uh,
When
yeah.
we established this, it was like, all right, and honestly, we had many years ago said, hey, if we have an extra bus, could we park it in one of these towns and we'll offer transportation, we'll get more kids.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's outside the realm of possibility, but, it was just one of those weird ideas when you think about it, because it was a revenue stream, and that's exactly how it's,
well, and now we've become
now it's become a
Alliance.
Alliance stream.
correct. And so that's why like.
And that's my primary concern.
Right, and and so a year ago at this time when this is such a tricky slippery thing because again, as Nick has said, or you have said, or someone has said, this is not typical of most districts. This is not how this is run. However, this bet has been made and now we are in it. And so like, I just don't know, so I get the idea of trying to decrease in certain areas, but again, I just don't know if that's necessarily the safe plan either, so. I don't know. But anyway, that was just it. I know you said one more
And
thing.
Christine just said to me, it's like chess.
Yeah,
It's absolutely right.
Yes.
And like, it's very difficult to predict what the next move of your counterpart is going to be. And you're trying to kind of block all angles. I'm gonna keep going because one thing we've actually never talked about before is outgoing school choice. So just like other kids are leaving their communities to come to Norton, we have kids that are leaving Norton to go to other places. So this does not include charter school at all. So because charter school is a totally different formula, this only includes outgoing school choice. So 24-25 school year, we had 33 students that left. We had 21 students go to other public school districts, and then 12 go to the Commonwealth virtual schools. So in the state of Massachusetts, there's 2 Commonwealth virtual schools.
I know where Nick's going, so.
And the formula is the same.
Just to
But the
reiterate,
cost
how
of
much,
more.
I didn't
how much
say a
do
word.
they- how much does the virtual school charge you?
I actually believe it's closer to 9.
I think it's 10.
Is it more than that?
No, I think it's like, I thought it was like 11.
10 last time.
I thought it was 11, but we're going.
Christine will look. And then this year, we actually saw a huge increase. Well, huge. We went from 33 kids leaving us to 51 kids leaving us. So 32 kids are going to other public school districts. So like, we've got 10 kids that leave us and go to Mansfield High. We've got 2 kids that leave and go to Brockton High. One that goes to Bridgewater Rain and one that goes to DR. So kids are leaving us too.
Well, Mansfield, though, they just opened school choice.
A few years ago, probably 4 or 5.
It's
Yeah.
only the high school, right?
So we have 2 kids at Walters, which is the middle school. And then,
Unless they
Siblings.
I was gonna say, the siblings are teachers.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're not gonna.
yes, and then 10 at Mansfield. We've got 4 kids that go to Taunton High, 1 that goes to Needham High School. So kids are leaving us too. And so I think that's important for us to know. And what's going to happen is that the cost to Norton last year was $276,004. The cost for the upcoming budget cycle, because of the increase, is $425,000,
And there's half our savings for school choice, but that I assume
right?
presumably.
And so let's remember that comes off the top. Like that is a different actually Justine was the one that reached out to me and said, is that right? And so Lori Pizzati put together all the data for me and said, yes, that is right. And so that is why there's the difference in that cost when we look at the overall revenues and expenses sheet from the town manager. So that's something that I think is important for us to consider as well.
And I think the other thing, and we've had this discussion multiple years as well, like, we have no control over Southeastern, Bristol Aggie, like, they just send us a bill. They don't have to come from the finance committee, they don't have to come and explain everything. Bristol Aggie just did a huge renovation and we're on the hook for our portion of it. And, I remember, going back 12 years ago, Southeastern actually came in front of the select board in the town and said, oh, this is what you're getting. for this. And I believe, we'd have to check the numbers, but I think we're the second highest behind Brockton, sending kids to Southeastern now. So it's,
Well,
You know.
yes.
Well, because now with the lottery, that's yeah, that's gonna be a very huge variance.
So that is something else we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
So with the plus 18 from FY 25 to FY 26, correct?
Yes.
So do we have any idea on why? Like, I'm assuming we don't survey these kids or our parents or anything, but like,
We don't know.
we have no, yeah. Is there any way we would ever be able to find them?
I mean, we absolutely could.
I mean, I can tell you why my kid goes to Swansea. Yes.
What?
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
school start time.
Yeah.
Yep,
But
it's
that-
much easier
but
for me to bring him to my
But I guess that's-
game than trying to take champions for a 9 o'clock starting.
And I guess like that, maybe like, if we could.
Yeah.
Would it be, smart, kind of get an idea of like, hey, why are they leaving? Are
Like,
they
we know
leaving?
who these kids
Yeah,
are.
Yeah,
Like, we have
that's what I'm saying.
data and
They were ours,
Yeah.
and then he left,
I mean, he'll
again,
come here eventually,
I'm assuming,
just not right now.
I'm assuming with Mansfield, you have I'll say a perception, because I don't think it's actually true, of Mansfield's better than Norton. I don't think it's true at all, but
Okay, my kids go to Mansfield.
Yeah.
I don't think it's true either.
yeah, like, I think it's a good school system. I think it's a good town, but like, I don't think it's necessarily better. Education's what's going to put into it. However, like, are they going because they're D1 and they're looking at, hey, my kid's a really good baseball player and I want to jump in and try to get him more.
Well, and some did for the arts department.
Yeah, or yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They had a huge,
Multiple
they had a
reasons
huge
of,
marching band and they have
of
a very
why,
robust
exactly. Yeah.
music
So
department.
like, is that a reason? You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, we can absolutely do that and find out, say, what would it take to get you to come back? I mean,
so this may sound like a silly question, but
Money.
this Commonwealth virtual school,
Yes.
that's not what like a homeschool would fall under, right? Like-
No, no. So if you homeschool your child, you are designing their own curriculum and submitting that, or you're using a third party that provides the curriculum for you. The virtual schools, one is Tecca and one is Greenfield Academy. They are considered public school students, although they're learning at home. And it's definitely the right choice for some kids, but we can't compete with them.
Oh, yeah, do you know?
So ironically, which is really funny, they just released the inflation rate for the virtual school yesterday. And it's almost 14.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Everybody at home, pay attention.
Just gonna say, and to
$9,000 more to go to virtual school than to send a student from a district to a district to learn with lights on, chairs and everything else. It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute
But
joke.
that's something we don't have any control over either.
No.
right?
No, we have no control.
No checks and balances.
And I was gonna go back to the other point that I say every year.
Yeah,
Since 2014,
that's Greenfield, yeah. It used to be called Greenfield, but yes.
I was gonna go back to the other point of since 2014, it's been $5,000 for a school choice student to come in. And in 2026, we're in the same boat of
Yeah.
$5,000.
That inflation.
All of our increases have absolutely exponentially grown, doubled in some cases, and yet we have nothing coming in.
I don't understand why that is the one area where there
But
is
virtual
inflation.
learning.
I'll tell you what,
And
But I know, Rob, just,
Right. the reason why is the cities would lose a lot of their students who were school choice out, and the money would go out the door. So the crap hole schools that are here now would get even crappier. That's why. That's not politically correct, but that's a goddamn truth. Continue.
Okay,
Okay,
So,
moving on.
moving on.
More slide.
I have some thoughts and some method to my madness here. So our current smallest class is our kindergarten class with 139 students, which is very low for us. However, we tried our very best to make sure that our enrollment at the elementary schools stays as small as we possibly can. When we have conversations about FY27 potential reductions, we're going to have conversations about eliminating sections at the elementary level because we have this very small group of kindergartners. So I'm not recommending any school choice places other than our siblings and Norton staff for elementary. If I'm going to be eliminating, a section here and a section there, I want to make sure that we are able to maintain that with the number of students that we currently have. Our current seventh grade class, we always talk about as that smaller group as well. They will be eighth graders next year. And so I'm recommending that we open 5 seats there. Last year, we opened, I believe, 2 seats in grade 7, and we did not fill them. We only filled 1. Grade 9, we currently have 177 eighth graders. We found out recently that 35 of them have been accepted to Southeastern Regional. That is the highest number we have ever had. That number
39.
does not
39.
include 39? You told me 35, Benny.
They came daily.
Well, right, because they don't accept the wait list.
It's really bad.
Yeah, they're going, and that's not just Southeast,
That's everybody.
That's
It's everybody.
everybody.
Okay, so I didn't know if it included or didn't include. So that's the Aggie, that's Fian.
That's everybody.
BP.
So we've got almost
BP.
40 kids
More BP than we ever had, I think.
leaving.
But those are school choice kids that are leaving.
School choice kids are leaving to go to BP.
Correct, because we're not a BP district, so we have school choice kids that are leaving to go
Correct.
to.
So like the Taunton, the middle
So,
bucket.
so the 39 who are leaving to the folks and to private.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
The number that we got on the backside of this, or whatever, of the 51, that's ones who are leaving via school choice. Public,
Yes.
we'll call it public to public.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that incoming freshman class is going to be roughly 138.
So, those 39 have accepted and are definitely leaving. Yes.
I mean, we always,
Today.
yeah, they always
As of
have
today,
kids
yeah.
that come back, to be honest with you, for renege in the summertime.
Yeah.
But,
Or
the
they get
waiting,
here in September, they're like, never mind.
the waiting list is,
The waiting list.
they're moving through those,
Very.
so we should know. for
We
sure.
could still go up too.
Oh, yeah.
We could.
Yep.
But then the other thing is if they renege in the summer, then we won't get credit for them until the following.
So it's before October.
As long as it's before October 1st. The kids that are, the vast are the ones that come back on October 3rd. And you don't
How
get,
many do we normally have? Like, I know this year with
It's
the
been in
Lord
the mid-20s
That's fine.
typically, I think the last few years. But I think the lottery is,
Because the
Yeah.
lottery doesn't assign a number of seats anymore per town, so that's a big change.
so next year we might not, this year we had a lot of kids who got into the lottery, but I think theoretically, if they don't make changes, next year we might not.
Right.
So it's gonna go up and down.
So the ninth grade class next year, as currently constructed, will be 138 students.
and then our current freshman class is at 153. So my recommendation is to add 5 seats in grade 8, 5 seats in grade 9, and 5 seats in grade 10. I am happy to have conversations with you about any of those things. I would also say, obviously, siblings, we know, and our MPS staff really appreciate the school choice for staff as well. I mean, those are my thoughts.
I mean, I think that's kind of a safe play. Because I think as, you know, as we get into 7th, or not so much, but 8th, 9th, like, I hate to say it, we don't really worry too much about class size because they're constantly moving around. Like at the younger grades, I think we have to be very cautious, and we have been very cautious. I think in the older grades, it's easier to absorb more seats. That being said, I mean, you know, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's too much of an increase. So I'm on board with it. I think this is a conservative number that works out. It's not over the top, and I think, you know,
In grade 8 is our current grade 7.
Yeah.
That's our smallest
Yes,
grade.
that's our current smallest
This grade.
until we get to our kindergartners.
Current smallest.
And as of this morning, we had 81 students registered for kindergarten across 2 schools.
wow.
So
But they usually
But
start
that's it.
small in it.
it's very small. People forget they have 5 years.
Especially if you're the last one.
Hey,
Right? Oh, forget it.
Hey, happy Labor Day. Let's go do kindergarten.
Yeah. And like, it's funny because like we joke around about it. Like there is a number of little lancers that we know are going to kindergarten that haven't registered yet because oftentimes parents don't think about the fact that they still need to register for kindergarten even though your child's already here. So it's like a different registration process. So we will make sure that we're on those. And so once all those students register, that will be 104.
Which is
104,
still
so small.
Still small.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then, am I right that that would put us at about 200 for FY 27, somewhere in there for school choice?
Yeah, ish.
Before, yeah, it should be for
If you-
fewer, right, if you
Yep.
fill them all.
And I don't know off the top of my head how many siblings we have potentially coming, any of those
The
things.
rough idea that it'd be.
Or how many staff members have, 5-year-olds or whatever that may be.
Okay,
But yes, we have, almost 20 students graduating this year.
yeah.
Now, do we ever, maybe this is not separate. Do we ever track like, hey, you're here for the first 6 years and then they go back to middle school somewhere else? Like, do we know if, like, have we ever done that type of?
Not to my knowledge, I mean, I can certainly, I can kind of look at trends, I see what we can find.
Well, 'cause I'm
Oh,
wondering
I
if we
did
get
look
some-
at it. Okay, Laura.
I did a diagonal
Oh, you
and I
looked-
looked at each
okay.
year of, I tracked from like, FY 20 to FY 26 and, no,
I was looking.
this was just my general increases to decreases, and there were a couple of interesting years, so, our current juniors, when they were 7th to 8th grade, we had 18 and it jumped up to 26. So that was just an interesting one that I noticed. Then there was a large decrease, our current seniors, when they were freshmen, they were 27 and then it jumped down to 21. So that was a decrease. So I was looking at that just to see or from where they started to where they ended. There was a lot of interesting fluctuations. Our current freshman class, there were 12 in 2020 and now there's 14, but there were 24 last year. There was a 10 drop from 8th grade to 9th grade, which would make sense because of the but that wasn't a consistent large drop.
Well, keep in mind though, and I'm not raining on your parade, but
Yeah,
they may not have started at school choice in second grade. They may have only started.
right. I know. I just think it's interesting that the fluxes and and from where we start to where we end are relatively all close. It was a +8 difference from our second graders to our current 8th graders. It's a +8 difference from where we started in 2020.
Yeah.
There's a +10 in our current juniors from where they started back in 2020 and 13. There's 10 more now than there were then. Like, it's just an interesting.
It's very haphazard.
It is. There's no real rhyme or reason to it. There were just a couple of them that I thought were interesting, these large jumps and decreases. But a lot of times it's that changeover from 8th grade to 9th grade.
So hypothetically, kids school choices kindergarten on, gets to 8th grade. We've collected the $5,000 since kindergarten. Student jumps to, not figured, bad idea, virtual school. Attleboro or us, who's on the hook?
Go sending district.
They would still be out,
Yeah.
even though they were with us for.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's wherever they're.
We're not their home district.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
So that is what I have for you.
I mean, I'm okay with those 15 average because again, that couple reasons. One, that falls within those higher grade levels, which is typically what you normally would see school choice. I know it's not all high school, but it's upper middle, and those are low class sizes. So I'm okay with that.
I would leave the current 7th graders going into 8th graders out and just reduce that. We opened it, we had 2 openings, and we only took 1. Doing 5, why even open that door? I would just leave it for now. That would get everybody out of the middle school, and then I would do the 5 and 5 in 9th and 10th grade. That's what I would suggest.
I just look at it as no harm, no foul. Offer the 5
Yeah.
because again, if we only got the 1,
Yeah,
Because I think the other fact of that
Just-
is if we get 6, then we'd have to have a meeting.
but if you get 1,
Yeah.
the 1's a huge pain, and that comes with a whole ton of needs. That's going to cost us a lot of money. So it's like, do you really want to play with fire in 8th grade when we're at the middle school? You haven't been able to be with the principals and the teachers and know how the culture works and everything else. Do you really want to, because I hate to say this, and again, not politically correct, but if someone's school choicing in and in the 8th grade, you're probably looking at parents and student are not happy with whatever district they're coming from. which makes me think more times than not, and again, not politically correct, you probably are either behavior, high needs, whatever it may be, and now we're gonna absolve them into a culture and a system that they haven't been involved in. Coming as a ninth grader, and then we got them all 4 years of high school. So I would keep that class small. They're rolling along. I wouldn't even, well, we tried doing it this year. We got one. Why even play that game? But I don't know what we have to do, revote or what we do.
So you guys are able to vote tonight.
We can,
Someone just
or we
needs,
can.
or you can hold off and we can talk about it the next time. That's you.
We'll have a new video next meeting.
Will do.
Potentially.
Oh, we will.
Just put that out there, the 15th.
Should probably vote.
So that's just mine.
I'm good with voting.
I'm fine with voting.
I'll throw this out there just as an idea. Since our freshmen are going down to potentially under 140, do you want to take those 5 spots and move them to the freshmen?
Sure, we're comfortable with that.
I would rather do that than for eighth grade, yes. I'm not,
No, I mean, I totally get your point. No, and you're right. I mean, that's always, and that's usually why they reserve it to the upperclassmen, because you
Yeah.
take that risk of you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
And you may see more kids make a transition for high school.
Thank you.
Right? We've got a great high school, we've got great programs. If these kids are all going, that is going to be a very small class.
Yeah.
It allows us to keep the number 15, which we know we're losing almost 20 seniors. Just a thought.
Nick, you want to make that motion?
sure. I make a motion to increase, no, we don't want to do this, approve this percent.
No, we can,
Because we want to, all right, so I will make a motion to do 10 school choice students in the ninth grade, starting in the fall, and 5 in the 10th grade, as well as any staff, children,
Mhm.
and any siblings who are currently here.
It's required by law, but yes.
Yeah, sure.
So moved.
Totally.
Second.
So make a lot.
Which,
All those in favor?
You're still the chair.
I know. I was
she
going.
was confused for a second.
I was going.
So moved.
You
Second.
second. I second. All those in favor?
Thank you, guys.
All right, we got this.
Cut me some slack.
Well, you seconded it, it was weird.
Well, that's because I moved it. Sorry.
I don't know.
All right.
Whatever.
I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna yell again.
You were late.
Here.
That's what happens.
Showed up to this meeting because I run every single one.
Yes, it's getting
All right, moving on.
That's what leadership.
I haven't even played it here yet.
Okay, so I wanted to bring back the conversation that we had recently. We had a presentation from Tim of Ross Hayward Associates. And so I just kind of wanted to just guide a little bit of a conversation about what our thoughts were about next steps. So ultimately, he gave us a couple different scenarios. One was like looking at the paired elementary school model, where you would kind of reorganize grade levels. So it'd be like a K-2, a 3-5. And what we found in that one, we did not have the capacity at JCS or LGN in order to make that happen. So LGN would be an early childhood center. It's just not going to work. The second thing that we looked at was revising the boundaries across town and looking at a grade configuration. And that would include grade 5 moving up to the middle school. And the issue with that was that there was, some capacity at one building, but not enough capacity at the other. And so ultimately, their recommendation is to maintain the current grade configuration and school alignment, not really change anything for now, while kind of exploring a more efficient transportation schedule. So ironically, that was kind of what we came up with when we did the work in districts. But I actually feel good about it because now we know, right? The stones have been unturned. We have
Did you do diligence?
professional, yes, we have professional opinion on really what needs to
That's
happen.
what you said.
And so we would be going to a 2-tiered system of middle school and high school starting earlier, and then the elementary schools staggering a little bit. And so that would allow, we would move from a 3-tier bus system to a 2-tier bus system. It'll allow the routes to kind of collect students a little bit more efficiently, where they would be picking up students in grades K to 5 all at the same time. We would be picking up middle school and high school at the same time. And, kind of a little bit of a more unified system. It would be an additional cost, probably 1 to 2 buses at somewhere between 90 and 180,000. So it's a cost to us, but it is not a cost of like 600,000, which was one of the other scenarios, which was absolutely prohibitive. And then their recommendation is that we probably would need to give like an hour and 10 minutes between when the high school starts and when the elementaries start.
I actually don't think you need that much.
I don't think so either, Dan.
I don't think so.
And so that's something I think Christine and I have kind of talked about. So ultimately, what I'm hoping for us to kind of discuss tonight, and I would like for you guys to give me your charge in terms of next steps, is what are our thoughts on the recommendation, number one? And what do we want our next steps to be? In my mind, I would say that we would need to get together with our bus company and actually look at the feasibility of this. One, with students that we have enrolled and where everyone is, the number of buses that we have and the times, because I think that is going to be a big factor for families. And I know it will be a huge factor for our elementary staff, who is now going to be going from starting at 7:45 to starting later. And so we have to look at those things really carefully.
So, speaking of so we have to be careful when we talk to the transportation provider, because they're going to want to charge us as a 3-tier because they're going to multiple schools. So we may pick up the group at the same time, but it's going to be considered 2 tiers because it's 2 stops.
Interesting.
I can tell you, if they're any type of provider, that's what they're going to decide.
However, I would argue that we already have a 3-tiered system where in 1 tier, there are multiple stops. So, like, for example, right now, tier 1, some buses go to high school, some buses go to LGN. Tier 2, they pick up middle school and the Yale. They drop off at the Yale and they drop off at the middle school. And then tier 3 is just yes.
And we did talk to them, I wrote in the contract this past time, not, last spring, to that exact point, to make sure that we could change the tiers within, the contract from 3 to 2 if needed. They knew that this was, that we were working on this large project, so I think it should be.
Because the other thing to add to that discussion too is if they have the higher bus capacities. So they have the 2 style buses where you can get.
Yeah, then it divides.
Well, if they have in the fleet, that's one thing, but you can request per the contract that certain routes have that higher capacity. Like for example, that sticks out, like going over to the Glen, you're gonna have X amount of kids, but with those bigger buses, you can add 10 capacity and they shouldn't cost more in the contract.
So speaking of the contract, if we went to a system like this, is this like an MOA that gets done? What if the bus company says, we're not doing that, and you gotta finish out your contract? What is that all kind
Yeah,
of?
when did we do the bid? Not for a while.
2020.
We just did, okay, we're in year 2,
Okay, thank you.
And we don't ever get any other bids.
No.
It's only one.
correct.
It's just a game.
I know.
No,
I mean, we did talk about that, it was at the district's discretion to change, so
Yeah,
we
that's
wrote
good.
that in. There was a couple new things that we did. And then, as long as we don't go over 20% of what the whole, worth of the contract up or down, which some of those scenarios we just have to be careful, then that would be the only reason that they would say no.
And then from a timing standpoint, like that's my own personal, watching my son. Gets on at Northwestern Street and there's like 40 stops down the road. It's like, well, next house, stop again, next house, stop again. It's like, no offense, but like, can we make them meet in the middle and do 1 stop? Wouldn't that help the
I'm the
timing?
only parent in Norton that wants to do
Yeah, I was gonna say,
You
the minority, my friend.
it's tougher on the main streets.
I understand, like Northwestern Street, I wouldn't want my kid walking down the road, but like JFK, which is a side road, where like the buses should just go down Northwestern Street and all the kids who lived in that neighborhood walked down and met at the bus stop and threw around the football and had fun before getting onto the bus.
Because I think like when you look at like Village Way, that's a group stop at the end. My street's a group stop at the end.
Mine is a group stop.
So it's just,
So,
it's,
anyway, but
those are things you look at when you do your routing.
I agree, 100%.
I,
And so I think like everyone has an opinion about
Of course.
buses. It's one of those things, right?
and they do stuff more frequently for elementary.
Yeah, but they do, you know,
as they should.
Yeah,
Elementary
100%.
door,
Yeah.
door side.
Well, not all of them. Because again, our elementary, GCS are still a group stop because, I mean, I have several neighbors that have been fighting that for a long
They're
time.
like a side street of a side street.
Yes, I know.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think they could probably be a group stop everywhere, but.
I'm just telling you.
Yes.
Listen, I'm just speaking on behalf of, you know.
So I think, to me, one of the next natural steps would be to work with our bus company and say, this is what we want to do. This is our goal to implement. We could not implement in the fall of 26, it's way too soon, so the fall of 27. And then knowing, A, do we actually need an additional bus or two? And B, how much time do we need between the actual runs? Then looking at times. Because to me, starting high school and middle school at 7:40, I'm like, I think we could, this is awful, and I know it's supposed to be research, but I think we could maybe bump it up a little bit to get our elementary students in earlier as well.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, we started at like
7:05.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my kids,
138.
yeah, my kids are in Manslaughter are at 1:49 every single day, and they're home in my house, like, by 2:03. And that was on the bus and not with a crazy 16-year-old driving, like that was.
Olivia's in my house by
Yes.
2:20.
Yeah, and so
Districts gets out at 1:37.
So my question is, where would you guys like us to focus our attention for this next step? What are questions that we have? Dan, maybe you and I and Christine could come up with specific questions when it comes to transportation.
Sure.
And then I think once we have a little bit more information, to me, then we start with our outreach to parents, outreach to staff, and community forums.
Well, I mean, I think the good thing with this, I mean, we started this discussion and it evolved into, you know, to your point, if we're gonna do it, we do it right. And we are essentially back to square one and we can say, we kind of knew what we were talking about, but now it's been certified, we kind of know what we're talking about. And then, but we know all those little things that maybe we didn't think of, like a bus capacity issue or, you know, how does it look with the vendor and things like that. So, I mean, those are the things that the experts can point out that we probably was like way down on our list. But I mean, ultimately, I think this was a good exercise that we collected all the data. So, I mean, and we can present all that to the families that says, you know, the experts are saying we're doing it the right way if we do X, Y, and Z. So that just makes the logical choice and logical sense for us to do that.
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation would be, use the chair, to our advantage. You know, you got people from different backgrounds and a person who walks us every day. I think having him, obviously, more on your plate, you're welcome. You know, but like using him to kind of help, you know, modify whatever we try to need to do and then kind of bring it back to us at that point. And it's probably the smartest move.
Yeah. Thank you all. All right, next up is discussion on the FY27 budget reductions.
Oh,
I'm
let's do that.
Okay.
This is very first pass at, just some thoughts for FY27. We have been, I guess, asked, to look at what would the impact be if we had a level funded budget. So a level funded budget, for those people who are not,
We were town.
familiar with lingo, is that we would receive the exact same amount of money for FY27 that we received in FY26. However, as we are all aware, costs go up. We have contractual obligations to our staff, to vendors, utilities, materials and supplies. All of those things go up. So if we had a level funded budget for FY27, it would be a cut of $1,632,514 over our proposed budget for FY27. So 1.6 million.
It's a lot of money. As we all know, we cut 29 positions in FY 25. We cut 11 positions in FY 24. We were able to bring back probably 3 at fall town meeting as part of FY 25. But we're still down about 40 positions over the last few years. So there's not a lot of available stuff left for us to cut. So based on some math that Christine and I have been doing, we believe that this would be about 8 to 10 staff positions. And the recommendations that we have are, you guys always know I will never say it's this person or that person. Like, that is things that will happen one-on-one with staff members. But we would likely eliminate a few sections at the elementary level, specifically K to 3, because we do have this small kindergarten class that is going to be moving to first grade. We may not need as many first grade classes or other grade level classes based on the number of students that are enrolled. We also have like little bubbles that are kind of coming through and rolling up. So it's really looking at where is the position needed versus where has it been, and not leaving X amount of teachers per grade level just because that's kind of what's happening. So that is definitely what we'll be looking at first. As you all know, you've heard me talk about 5th grade and the need for moving a position up to 5th grade. We will still be making it a priority. So it could be that we're cutting more sections in other places in order to make this happen. We're spending a lot of time looking at the actual delivery of specialized services. And so that is special education and also service providers themselves. So Casey and Vinny and our team have been we're having a lot of conversations about equitable caseload, about the amount of time that's needed in each building to ensure that we're servicing students appropriately, and are there places where we can make adjustments. So that is something that we're looking at as well. And then reorganization of administrative positions. You guys know we are not really overwhelmed with administrators, although people seem to think we are. I think that graph showing that we were the lowest around for administrative positions was good. But what supports do we have in different places, and are they being utilized in the best way? And so that's something that if we're going to have to cut 1.6 million, those are things that we have to look at. When it comes to line item reductions, there's not a lot of extra things that we offer during the school day. But we do offer some things outside of the school day that are not cost neutral for us. So looking at some of these things that we're offering and saying, is this something that we could shift in terms of extracurricular activity? And then finally, we'll be looking at reallocating positions within the revolving accounts themselves. So, for example, we have a facilities revolving account. Like, could we put one more custodian as part of the facilities revolving instead of having them as part of the budget? Is there another paraprofessional that could be moved into the preschool revolving account? And so, as you all know, like, we balance that as best we can. But that's kind of where we're at right now. I will share with you all probably more specific details in terms of what that means. But we're not ready to do that publicly.
So I have a couple questions.
Yes.
So assuming, we do have to reduce staff, would like bumping come into play? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the other part is, if we're looking at 8 to 10, I know we have some announced retirements. When, like, if they're in those lower grades, we would just say
Yes.
not
Yes.
filling.
So there are potential resignations and retirements in places where we could absorb that cut. But I think it's important for people to know that while someone may not be getting a layoff notice, it is still the loss of a position.
Yeah.
So we, we're constantly looking at those retirements and resignations and saying, okay, well, that's good because now we don't have to actually lay someone off. But yes.
So we're losing a position, but not a body.
Yes, and I'll,
Yes, I mean, the body's just retired. Right. So,
and again, like, I'll say the elephant in the room, I guess, it's like, yes, the position's being not backfilled, if you will, but we only have 100 kids in kindergarten, we don't need that first grade teacher. That's real life. Just because if your enrollment's going down and our needs aren't crazy high because we have 30 kids in a class, we're still maintaining those similar class size that this committee likes in terms of the elementary level. Losing the position isn't the end of the world. Like, that's the real world. That's the world we live in. And again, I will stress this again and again and again. It doesn't matter. And I said this to Jen and Christine the other night. Look at Lexington. One of the highest per pupil cost, one of the richest town cities, whatever they are, in the state and quite frankly in the country. And they're laying off 60 teachers. This is a broken system, and it's not just affecting Norton. My question is like the proposed, I was just like pulled up the book. I think it was a special ed teacher and a grade 5 teacher.
mhm.
And then an increase to a 0.4 or whatever. Would those positions obviously be a part of this?
There would have to be. So, I mean, right now, that the budget itself really doesn't include the 5th grade number. Would be a shift in a position.
So we had said
Because they're
that.
So there
licensed
wasn't,
K to 6.
yes, so it's on a level service, so we were saying it really doesn't include that 5th grade position. It would be,
But like of these 8 to 10, these two and a half
Yes,
are
so-
included in there? So
they would
current
have
staff-
to be, they would have to be included there. I mean, if we have to look at it, so we really need that position at the high school, then we're gonna have to look to pull that position from somewhere.
It's
Right? It's like,
It's a
you're going to have to say, okay, these are the absolute needs.
It's a domino game.
And so we're now saying that this high school position is more important than something else somewhere else.
Yes, but it's not gonna
So-
cost us $71,000 because it's already in our budget before.
Yes.
Okay.
It wouldn't be an additional, yes.
So I guess,
So it'd be the 1.6, the reduction on what we're asking.
okay, so the 8 to 10, hypothetically, just say
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
purposes. And we'll just say these 2 positions are added in there.
Yep.
So right off the bat with 10 positions, we're really down, technically would be down to 8 because these 2 are built in, we don't have anybody in yet.
Correct.
Okay,
However, we really need that backfill of the 0.4 out.
yes.
We have the 0.6 teachers retiring, so we're gonna post for a full-time position versus,
And I,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I think I've asked this over the years as well, like with retirements,
Mhm.
is there any incentive, hypothetically, for a teacher who is like, I am done, but I have 1 year?
I didn't know.
I
People recently hired
Or an administrator who are sitting there saying, hey, I am done. I can get 75% right now. If I wait 1 more year or 2 more years, I'm gonna get the 80%. Is there any incentive
No.
for them to jump?
We do not currently offer a retirement incentive.
Can we?
We absolutely can.
Comes back to money. We had looked at that many years ago.
We absolutely can. The school committee in partnership with the team could put together a retirement incentive. I know a few other districts have done it in the past, and I know a few districts are doing it this year as well. We could say, there you go. We are offering this. If you'd like to retire, this is what you'll get. See what happens.
And again, I don't even know if that's even, I wouldn't even know where to start, I guess, but I know other districts have done it. And if someone is, again, everyone's life's different. If you're relying on the 80%, you ain't gonna go anywhere. If you're like, hey, 74% is enough, 6%, I'll go hand out stickers at Walmart, okay, be good to go, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, there,
I don't know, they still do that? They
I
cut that?
understand. Do they still?
I think, there were a lot of districts that used to have sick leave buyback, and then that was eliminated out of contracts, and like trying to get something like that back in is an incentive if they, banked 200 days, and they can get $20 for those days in an excess of 50. Like, there's things like that that can be done, which ends up being sort of a buyout in a way, but,
Anyone that was hired before 2012 had sick leave buyback.
that's sick leave buyback, right?
Yeah.
But so it doesn't really, it's actually more of a long term because those people are the ones you're trying to get to say bye, and so they already kind of have that in there.
Well, and it depends, and I think we all know this too. It depends on the role. It's, you know, as a second grade teacher, I can say it's easier to backfill an elementary position with a new educator, and you're potentially saving a good chunk of money when you have somebody who's fresh out of school.
Correct.
But it's, you know, not everyone is qualified to be a high school physics teacher. Those are very difficult to find. And so we do have positions that we are going to need to fill due to resignations. That will be challenging to fill, and you due to specialized roles.
Right.
Well, so you're not always saving a huge amount.
Not knowing, you know, all of a sudden now you get a child in district that needs specialized instruction, now you need this person here, which we don't have, or whatever, you know, so.
Not always.
So yeah, so to Nick's point, yes, in some degree it is real world, but then there are other areas too that you can't account for, and you have to, you know, who knows, you know.
So
Do we anticipate getting? I mean, I don't want to bring up the FinCom from the other day. But when do we usually get our final number? Like a couple weeks before
Oh,
time?
public hearing was notified that it's gonna happen April 27th.
Yeah.
So, I would assume that at that point, there's more information that's supplied if it's public hearing.
the
Am I wrong?
date, agreed. The date that kept being floated around was April 6th. So I don't know if that is when the town manager will give his recommendations to the finance committee. I haven't heard too much. So
I mean, I was repeatedly told that you know, we will have a few more meetings to, you know, shore things up and that they are waiting on recommendations from the town manager, so.
Yeah, the public hearing.
Yeah.
Is on April 27th.
Yeah.
So I would assume.
Right.
Based on what I know, we ain't gonna get crap until then.
Well,
that was encouraging, Nick. Thank you.
No, you're so frank tonight, so.
I'm pretty much frank all the time.
Maybe a little extra spicy. Yes.
All right, are we good? Can we move on? Thanks, Madam Chair. Team. Okay. Superintendent's evaluation discussion and vote. I'm gonna
yeah.
turn that over to you if you did
Yes.
put it all together.
So I want to say thank you to Pam for helping me on this. My time got used up, so she helped put this. So just so everybody knows, as part of our yearly review, we have to put together this lovely sheet that none of us like, me included. And basically, this is for Dr. O'Neill, and it is a matter of public record as to how she is doing. Do you want me to go through all this, or?
whatever you would like to do, it's certainly up to you. It is available. I mean, anyone can request it. If you want it, whatever you're comfortable with, Dan.
I had a question. Yes, a
Sure.
question. So I sent an email earlier.
Yeah.
This year, page 1 wasn't matching page 1, so I wasn't sure. So this one here, the professional practice here says match, whereas the one page it said significant progress, so I wasn't sure.
That was probably never on my birthday.
Right, so I just don't know what one it was supposed to be. Okay.
You're welcome to discuss it and decide which you feel is most appropriate.
I mean, I think,
Because I guess you publicly evaluate it, which is so fun.
Favorite night.
No, it's just, I mean, there's no one here.
Watching it.
yeah, no one else, say it. Go fast.
It's my fan club.
20 people online.
That's like record number. I think that is record
No,
number.
I don't think we have to read through
Right,
everything.
yeah.
I mean,
Right, that was my only thing,
Yeah,
otherwise-
I will double check that. It's probably an error.
okay.
You know, 2 screens, 5 screens.
Oh, yeah, no,
Other than that, I mean, you know, I very much have a love-hate relationship when it comes to things like these because we have such good communication with you. I think that, you know, there's no surprises on these for you. And I'm sure, you know, even the members would agree, like, you know, this is a necessary step for us, but we have open and honest communication with you that if there is something we have something that needs to be addressed or something like that, you are more than willing to get into it. I mean, some highlights for me, and I think this was shared with every member is, communication wise and community outreach and things like that, you've done a phenomenal job with. Sometimes to the point where it's like, okay, we'll get a copy of it and then it's like, oh, I'm a parent too, so I'm gonna have to read it a second time. Or like, and I'm sure, those of us with kids in multiple schools, it's like, oh, the third time, the fourth time. But, and I think in this environment, the public school environment, there's no such thing as too much communication because, open and honest communication is things that, we've been under attack for many years that we're not transparent, but every one of your, press releases and newsletters is really peeling back those layers of visibility and saying, here it is, and to the point where it's not like we can hand deliver communications, like we're sending them out and it's up to you. Unfortunately, like the thing I've always kind of struggled with is those who kind of tend to take shots at the school committee probably don't have kids and don't get the newsletters. So it's like, well, how do we reach out to that part? So I think, overall, proficient in just about every category. Family concerns was exemplary across the board. Communication again was exemplary across the board. And I think the other thing is, I think I noted this in part of my review that, you set your learning goals and then you're upfront. It's like, yeah, we missed this because this got in the way, or, it's kind of like the old, well, life got in the way. So, but you have the ability to pivot between, okay, I might not meet this goal, but this took precedent and this is why I didn't meet this goal. And again, it's the communication aspect that you have with us. So, I don't know if any of the other members had any other comments, but for the most part, across the board, it was pretty much proficient, significant, met, and just piecemealing it together was where we were at. Engagement obviously was another one that was exemplary. I think one of the things I noted that your learning walks that you schedule, that you're in our buildings. I mean, you even were at JCS as acting principal, sharing that with Ryan. So, I mean, and I kind of joked with you, I think, you're kind of getting back to your roots. Like you didn't go to the building leader, you went right into admin. So it's like, it's like another step in your career. So, overall, I mean, nothing here was surprising. And I thank you for the job you're doing, and you kind of got into your position. You were the right candidate at the time, and it was a challenge as soon as you signed on the dotted line. And but you continue to excel in this role and in those challenges, and you're leading us again through another challenging budget year. And you continue to do so with grace and honesty and transparency.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I would second Stan's words. Obviously, we re-upped your contract for a reason. I think you've done a great job communication wise, phenomenal. And if you do have questions, you're very easily available, and as is the administrative team. So to the people who say, hey, the transparency, we need this, I mean, it's a matter of like, if you actually have a question, reach out, I'm going to answer it for you. And I think that goes from, superintendent, school committee to the teachers and everything else. Sometimes you just need to actually listen and talk and kind of work it out. So I mean, from that standpoint, the leader and being the face of the schools in a way, and, that whole aspect of everything's phenomenal. I mean, while we're here, I think just a little bit of a needs improvement. I don't even think this is necessarily needs improvement. I think this kind of comes with the contract negotiations of like, we've kind of bumped those teachers up that next level. So now, those new teachers coming in got to meet us there. And I think I put that
You're kind of
in a lot of words in my thing, but I was kind of like, from superintendent into, more so building principals, which obviously you're going to be directly responsible for, is making sure that we're recruiting and retaining, the best of the best, because we're paying them the best of the best. So that's exactly kind of what I was, and again, I don't even think it was really a needs improvement. I think it was more of a, we got this done now and we know,
Let's think about this
it's
as we
something
move
to
forward.
focus on.
Exactly. Correct. Yeah, I mean, I think everything else was really, really good. And I think such a focus, because I think that focus is really going to hopefully improve the student learning in our schools. Especially, obviously we talk about the testing, we talk about all these great things these kids are doing. I think with better educators in these rooms, even better than what we have. I mean, I'm not saying what we have is bad, but what we do have now, as some of these, veterans age out and we're getting new ones in, we really need to make sure that process is a smooth one. And then ultimately, I think I say this every year with these stupid things, is like when educators do leave, kind of what is like, is there a process we can understand of why they are leaving, so I think those are ultimately my things. I mean, think of the challenges that we've got, it's a crazy time in education, and I think, ultimately you've kind of handled it, the best I've seen around, to be completely honest. You look around at, not even just in the state of Massachusetts, but, dark districts and districts 20 minutes down the road from us, and the nonsense that they're going through of fixing it and moving through superintendents and everything else that, having a consistent, approachable face is a huge boost to the district for sure. And I know that's your evaluation, but your evaluation also goes for the entire administrative team. They work for you, and I think, we do have a great team in place that truly care about student learning and, hearts in the right place, if you will, in terms of, making Oakland as best we possibly can.
You're present, you're a visible face. You know the kids. You know the kids. You can go into any building and probably easily, pick out half of them and know exactly who they are, what they like, what they're into. You go to the events, you're here, your face. You apologize that you didn't answer my email on Sunday. I'm like, it's Sunday. You shouldn't be answering my email. I'm just sending it because I know I'll forget. Like, you care about what you do. It's not just a job. Your heart is in it. You get hit at all angles from every aspect between, students, teachers, parents, community members, in positive and negative ways. And you take every single piece with stride and you're like, yep, absolutely. Whatever you need, you just let me know. Yep, I can do that. Whatever, and it's like, how do you do that? Because I don't know if I could do that. So, I would not want your job, but you are just fabulous at what you do. And, so very appreciative of what you do. Being in the position that I am as an educator, a parent, a school committee member, wearing all of these different hats, I know what a good superintendent looks like, and it's 100% you. So thank you so much.
I really don't know what else to add. So I agree with everything that they've said. And I just I guess the only thing I want to add is your first 3 years you have been thrown many things.
Does it feel like 3 years, or does it feel like 10?
And to echo what Laura said, you have just taken it in such stride, and really, I don't know what else to say other than thank you, and we are so lucky to have you in this position.
I appreciate that very much.
Anybody else? We're good?
No, if you want to see the full thing, it'll be online.
Oh,
Yes,
Yep.
yes. Part of our regular packet.
all right. Next up is other business.
I don't have any.
I just want to remind people to register their children for kindergarten. Who is turning 5 on or before August 31st, please register. You can go online to our website and click on student registration.
Okay. I will, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.